I will live by the law of this country when it's decided by the people of this country. Until then, I'm not a traitor and I'm a patriot. You know, our politicians are selling us out to corporates and it's killing the environment. We're losing 50,000 species of animals and plant every year from this planet. With every one of these animals and plants that we extinguish for life, how many cures for human conditions are we giving up forever? How are we supposed to go forward as a race if all the things we're going to need in the future, if we're actually killing them off ourselves? It's ridiculous. All right? Politicians are not going to make the decisions. They can't make the decisions because they can't prioritise the environment. The reason they can't prioritise the environment is because the only reason they've got where they've got to is by promising large donors that they're going to prioritise their companies instead. Like, I think it was January this year, Obama himself wrote a rider into law, okay, so that Monsanto, this is just absolutely ridiculous. I really hope people hear this because I don't know a better way to make the point. Monsanto produce genetically modified, they call it food, I don't know what to call it. This stuff's dangerous. It's got to be. It's not a derivative of nature. It's something that they're up to, using derivatives of nature. The reason for why the world is starving is not because of lack of food. The reason for why the world is starving is because of corporates like Monsanto and Western wealth. The reason for why the world is starving is because, 80% of the wealth is in the hands of 20% of the people, and those 20% live in the rich West. The reason for why the world is starving is because of poor distribution and poor policy and greed. The reason for why people are starving in the world has got nothing to do with lack of food. So GM, and Monsanto and anyone coming along saying, hey, we've got the solution for world hunger, here it is. It's something that makes more yield, we have more food. It's not going to make any difference. How long have we had GM crops now? We've just had a famine in Somalia that the whole world just watched. We just bloody watched it. We let it happen. We watched it. Yeah? That was last year. Last year. How many years ago were these companies saying that in their poison they had a solution for world hunger? How many years ago did we first hear that marketing? It was bloody years ago. And last year we watched the Somalian famine.
Yeah,
Where
they
was
don't do
Monsanto?
anything with all their wealth to help these people.
Right.
And when they do, it's they want them to become the guinea pigs for their next batch of Frankenfood.
Oh, I think they're just doing that straight on us now. I think they're realising how passive the UK and American populations are. When I say passive, you've got to bear in mind that from my perspective, protesting is nothing. Protesting is indirect action. Unless it's peaceful national protest, it's never going to... I've never seen a protest achieve anything unless it was national. Never. I need to go back to politicians. They are not able to make the decisions that need to be made to save this planet because their agendas lie elsewhere. They are protecting companies that are destroying this planet, whether it's through machines for war or through GM products. This is what Western governments are doing. They're doing this. We do live in representative democracies. It's just unfortunately they don't represent the majority. They represent, as Occupy will call them, rightly so, the 1%, the minority. And these minority have bought the whole system. Incidentally, this is what Thatcherism is. And this is why people in the UK are so angry. Margaret Thatcher was responsible for the deaths of thousands of Iraqi civilians, women and children, Kurds in the north. Margaret Thatcher supplied British-made chemical weapons to Saddam Hussein to use on his own people. He wiped out 5,500 people in the first strike with weapons that were made from here that Thatcher sold to him. Thatcherism has spread. It's Thatcherism. Yeah? When I say Thatcherism, I'm talking about politicians that represent people that buy them. I'm talking about all of this. And I'm talking about the corporates behind it all being the same, being the banks, the food companies, them, and the utility companies, them. The world is ran the way they want it to because they have to go through politicians. If we remove all of that and take that away as a mechanism, then those companies, Monsanto, if they want something put into law, they'll have to sell it to the bloody people. They'll have to get off their arse and sell it to a whole population. And they'll have to justify why they should have such a law in place. So the people, at the moment, Monsanto want a change made in the law. They pay a senator $64,000, I think, at the last strike. $64,000 for a multi-conglomerate like Monsanto to change federal law that affects millions of people in just one country. Monsanto can pay a politician to override that, but Monsanto will never be able to pay the country to do that because the country will be affected and the country will be like, no, we don't want your poison in our food. So no, you can't do that. Do you see?
No.
This is why direct democracy is incorruptible. There is no centre. There's no centre. It's decentralised. There's no opportunity for corruption or bribery because there's nothing to bribe or corrupt.
Hey. We've got all of these causes going towards the better of humanity, and people ignore this stuff. People walk by you and say no. People walk by you and they don't care. People walk by you and, you know, it's like being sheep to a higher power. It's like being robots to a robot that's controlled by somebody else. Why wouldn't you want to label genetically modified foods?
Yeah, Monsanto's the worst. Ethics.
It's the worst. I hate.
Sterile
My
seeds.
brother
Disgusting.
used to work for that
industry. What you know is
yeah, well, in pharmaceutical industry, primarily biotech pharmaceutical, the FDA is crucial about labels on medicines and certain things, but that's because it's government ran, and the companies pay the government salary, so they are allowed to sell bad milk, bad food products and things like that because it generates revenue. It pays their salary basically. That's why it is.
Or label GMOs to label GMOs, genetically modified organisms, genetically engineered foods. I think it's important because, for the choice. I think when our choice is taken away, it's easy to kind of get brushed under the rug, just ignorance is kind of passed by. A lot of people don't even know that these things are legal, to just go ahead and put genetically modified organisms on the market and in the supermarkets. And the people that do, know a lot of them, they want to change that. They either want it banned altogether or they want to know what it is. And so that's why this petition is important. That's why it's important to sign this petition, and it's important to vote when the time comes around to vote to have them labeled.
That genetically modified food is a up-to-date way of killing off millions of people, and I think that from the research that I've done, it is altering the genes of people that actually eat it, and most people don't even know that it's in all of the grocery stores now. So I think by law we should have a right to know what it is that we're putting inside of our bodies for us and our children as well.
We could say no to all of this. And
why wouldn't you want to legalize hemp and marijuana when you've got a company called DuPont that made hemp illegal originally? It's an oil company. What do? They take billions of dollars from people, companies, and they thrive on it themselves.
Amongst the thousands of products made from hemp, one of the most extraordinary is Henry Ford's plastic car. Built in 1941, it contained cellulose fibers derived from hemp, sisal, and wheat straw. The plastic was lighter than steel, yet could withstand 10 times the impact without denting.
I'm the chief proponent, as this young lady Lisa had mentioned, the chief proponent of Jack Herer's initiative. We've got a really great project. And at the moment we're volunteer, we're raising money in small increments, so we hope to be paying, real soon, and so that's a whole other subject, but we're on an aggressive fundraising campaign to raise money for this. What does this initiative do? It's a real simple and easy, solution-based initiative so that when farmers can grow this #1 plant for fuel, and the #1 plant for paper, the #1 plant for fiber on Earth. So we're very similar to the 99% movement because we, don't have hardly any money behind us, but what's the tie-in with Jack Herer's initiative, this that you have, is that, the cannabis, marijuana was made illegal by the 1% in 1937 on the basis that the blacks and the Mexicans looked at the whites more than 3 seconds in the eyes. Based on the Jim Crow laws is why marijuana was made illegal in 1937. by the 1%, by William Randolph Hearst, and by Harry Anslinger, and by the DuPont. So it was these Jim Crow laws in 1937 that banned marijuana, the 1% in 1937. So since then we've had a horrific destruction of the environment, a horrific destruction of human rights, and a proliferation of the prison state. But our initiative, reaches into all of these human rights, economy, environment. But just to focus on the environment is this plant can transform our environment as we know it. It can replace fossil fuels. We can quit using the trees for wood and paper, and it's our #1 paper source. It's our #1 fuel source. So this is a big issue in regard to shifting power structures from basically the 1% into a more democratic, equitable society, because this plant is our #1 fuel on Earth, and it's our #1 fiber and our #1 paper. The government, our own government, says that if this initiative, if it got going, could generate hundreds of millions of dollars. That's what the LAO said about this initiative, except what they didn't say is so the LAO said hundreds of millions of dollars, but that doesn't include the hemp industry. That doesn't include hemp fuel. It doesn't include hemp fiber. It doesn't include hemp plastics. And so what that means, my friends, is it means hundreds of billions of dollars could come with this initiative that we have here. What kind of money would that generate in a tax-based society? It not only defends and expands medical patients and protects marijuana patients' rights, because it allows for all of us, for 12 pounds and 99 female flowering plants without a note. 12 pounds especially because you can make an oil that's curing cancer called the Rick Simpson oil. Also what our initiative does for medical patients' rights is it doesn't tax medicine. So the cannabis clubs, if you're a patient, you won't be paying any tax. So with that, protecting the medical patients' rights as the third point, as we're protecting patients' rights, we're also going to do a phenomenal thing, and that is to clear the prisons in California for all nonviolent cannabis offenders.
So sit down, relax, get a pencil, and go back over this as many times as you need. Okay, so what we have here, this is what is an initiative in California. Since 1906, we've had this law that allows the people to put onto the ballot a initiative, a law that supersedes and overrides what the governor, the legislature, and the judicial have done. And it was done this way because we had such crooks running the California government that they wanted a way that the people could write their own laws and that the legislators and governor and the attorney general and the judges couldn't mess with the people's law.
Industry with thousands of people all over the state, and you get, and they want to put these people out of work. And I've had 4 back surgeries. I have degenerative disc disease. By using medical marijuana, I've reduced my Norco intake by 40%. It helps me get through the night because I can't sleep. I wake up in pain. I'm 61 years old. I haven't been able to work for 5 years. I'm on Social Security disability. I'm not looking at this just to get high and go to a rock concert. This is my medicine. And what are they doing this for? Don't they have enough crack in East Oakland to go after? You go down the street a few streets, the other side of the freeway, it's a disaster area down there.
When it comes to saving the environment, legalizing hemp is probably the top initiative people can put on any state's ballot in the nation that has ballot access.
Tell everybody you know to sign it. Tell your families, tell your friends, tell your relatives to sign this. And let's go ahead and finally bring some justice back to America.